I made spills. I made
So-
pops.
How dare you?
Is the real reason you do this interview in 3 parts so that you can have 3 beers?
No.
while
I never
recording?
drink during these. I don't know what you're talking about. And I only have 2 cans in front of me.
So fun. But there are no more unopened cans on this table, which implies...
If we have to take a spoiler break, we'll take a spoiler break so that I can get a
Okay.
3rd can. This is what people tune into Movie Baters with the Farx Brothers for, is the non-spoiler discussion of Wicked. Alissa, I'm going to have you tell me what your relationship with Wicked is, because I'm fascinated by what, if, how, and when you have come to develop a relationship with Wicked.
So I've never read the book. My first introduction to Wicked was a bootleg CD.
A burned disc?
Yep, in 2003 when it came out.
Yeah.
In one of my theater friend buddies' cars.
Man or woman?
Woman.
Does it matter? Does that detail
Well,
matter?
I was wondering if it was a guy that was like, hey, Alissa, like somebody she met before her lovely husband met.
What guy is gonna introduce her to Wicked or Wizard of Oz music?
I've introduced my wife to Wicked. Mrs. Farx, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, a guy who's trying to date her is probably not gonna. That's not probably giving his move, right? To introduce a girl you like.
Alissa, what are your thoughts on a guy making his move in high school? Like, theoretically, your son could listen to this someday and go, is this the move I should?
Probably would have worked, honestly.
All right.
Matt, reference.
I
He
mean,
gave me a
he's
thumbs
kind
up.
of already won, but his move was to show me all the photos of him from camp when he was a kid. So
Oh, okay. That's a weird thing.
Hey, you like kids, right? You're as a kid. What song did you like the most from when you heard this? Because I didn't hear about it in 2003. I heard about it at the same time as your husband did on Glee, like a normal heterosexual male.
So, I mean, obviously, this is Defying Gravity was probably the one that stood out the most, but also was a big fan of Popular and As Long As You're Mine and Not That Girl.
Okay, let's get into a bait then. Which is better, Defying Gravity or Popular? Or Kirk, do you have a different song that you'd pick?
Defying Gravity is for the better song.
Okay, I'm gonna argue for Popular because that's been stuck in my head lately. I like that it gives the performative nature of Galinda. I think she is at that point. She's not Glinda yet.
Spoiler.
It's not a spoiler.
She's your name.
Little bit.
Yeah.
Well, okay. The wizard. We should set up some rules. First and foremost, my wife loses if she hears a reference to the Wizard of Oz, because statistically speaking, you on average hear 1 reference to the Wizard of Oz every day, and especially right now with Wicked being the popular culture.
Probably more like 10.
Well, Mrs. Farx is like, that's not a real thing. So every time we hear a reference to the Wizard of Oz, I'm like, I win, honey. And so the part I feel very strongly about, like in this viewing of the movie, is Ariana Grande playing that performative niceness, which is something I can't stand. I feel like people do that in Minnesota, in the upper Midwest in general. And so
Like
popular.
Minnesota Nice, that kind of thing.
Yes, like I'm being performatively nice to you because this is the thing to do. I can't remember the lyrics to Popular. Something like, when someone needs a makeover, I must take over. I've clearly listened to this. So no
When
one's
someone
willing.
needs a makeover, I simply have to take over.
And so I as like a song I'm going to listen to, I think Popular over Defying Gravity. And I've listened to both on Spotify a couple of times since I've seen the movie.
So I would definitely acknowledge that Popular is more of an earworm, which is why it's in your head. I also think Popular and Defying Gravity are what they are in the ethos of Wicked, because they are the 2 songs on which the overarching narrative turns. I made the comment before that you could tell Wicked without witches. You could tell it without it being a Wizard of Oz story. It happens to be a beautiful frame for it, but it's ultimately a story about how power shapes narrative. And Popular is critical to that because it's underlining, especially great heads of state. Either, they weren't good communicators. They were popular, They had power. So I think Wicked wouldn't work without Popular, but also Defying Gravity similarly. And I would argue that it's better simply because I identify with it more, is the moment where Elphaba steps out of that power narrative and creates her own.
You said a couple of things there that I want to jump through. Do you know why the book was initially written?
No, I don't.
The author wanted to figure out evil. Like, is it nature or nurture? Like, are people born evil or are they nurtured into being evil? And use that through the prism of, the Wicked Witch of the West, like, what if she wasn't born evil, she was made evil by circumstances around her? And the reason he came to that was because 2 10-year-old boys, I believe it was in England, kidnapped a 2-year-old and killed him back in the early 90s. Yeah, this is like, I'm not saying anything that's revelatory. This is the first like paragraph of the Wikipedia. You can go reference this, and because of that, he was like, oh, well, what, brings us to these things.
Are we born wicked? Or do we have wickedness thrust upon us?
Exactly. Nature versus nurture. And so let's reevaluate the whole Wizard of Oz, because you hear a reference to it every day. Take that, honey. She doesn't listen to this podcast. So I see what you're saying with defying gravity being more relevant to that overall thing, but subtly popular, caring about being popular in and of itself is part of the evil of the world.
Oh, yeah, of course. So I am in full agreement with you there, and maybe I wasn't clear in that I think popular is critical to the idea and the message because it sets the tone for who has power and like how you get power and how you control things in the world, which I would argue is a form of evil.
So we're in the non-spoiler section, so I specifically have to refer to things that don't give away too much of the plot. Have either of you been taking in much of the marketing, specifically the interviews of Cynthia Erivo or Ariana Grande?
I have been taking in a selection of TikTok influencers making fun of the interviews of Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo.
So before I sent you one today, which was Kyle Dunnigan doing an impression of Bill Maher, pretending to be influenced by them. You had seen others. I wasn't.
Yeah, primarily, like the algorithm knows that I'm a different person than you. So the ones that it shows me is of people pretending to cry over the fact that it's a Tuesday or whatever, and that related to a question in the interview.
They're holding space for the possibility of feeling that emotion. I didn't know people were doing that. So I have to, there's not much of a bait here since we clearly all agree, and I'm going to look at Kirk to piss him off the most.
Go ahead.
I said something about, I really responded to Ariana Grande's playing the performative niceness. What the hell are they doing in these interviews? And they probably don't have a better option than to do the performative niceness.
That's a fair point.
So, in what way?
Oh, that, you have this film that is supposedly tearing down structures of performative niceness, and then you have a marketing tour that's utilizing them.
Oh, the irony in that? Yeah. Huh.
I'm going to brush on this without trying to go too far. Have you heard of It Ends With Us? Blake Lively's movie? One of the most popular movies. And it's about spousal abuse, but it's being marketed as a fun time for the girls in the movies. And there's a question about if that's wrong.
Though? There's a debate that Blake Lively is just doing it about herself. She's not actually, talking about the movie that much in her press coverages.
Part of the plot, and we're here to talk about Wicked, but I'm still going to throw this out there, is to get people to watch a movie where you don't want to spoil that it's about spousal abuse. So sorry if you went into It Ends With Us and didn't know. You knew it was about spousal abuse, right?
I did, yes. I've also not seen the film.
Yeah.
Have you read the book?
No.
It's coming on Netflix this next month. I have not seen it either, but I've been in several hours-long debates about it, including with Japan.
I think fundamentally, I'm against the idea of marketing a film as one thing when it's not that thing, which is a practice that's done from time to time, but it means the audience that goes to see the film is not actually the target audience, and they don't like it.
They're already suckers who paid. We already got their money. Well, have you noticed that? Do you feel Wicked is being marketed as a musical? Because we're coming off a year of musicals not being marketed as musicals.
It's not even being marketed as part one. I mean, you go into the movie.
That part is the bait and switch is that it's Wicked, but actually it's Wicked Part 1, but don't get mad at it.
So we don't have to spoil, but are you satisfied with the arc of Wicked 2024?
Are you prepared for me to give my hot take and get on my soapbox about this topic?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool.
That's what we're here for.
No, I'm not satisfied. Okay, so the film as a musical and a movie musical was objectively beautiful and wow, but
so it's a good time at the movies for over 2 hours.
So here's my hot take. I think that it is a travesty that we have entered into a season of movie consumption where Hollywood splits films that don't need to be split into multiple films purely because capitalism and profits, but then sells it back to us as if they did it for us. It's for the fan experience. It's so that you can enjoy the content more. It's complete garbage. It's capitalism. It's profits. I hate it. I hate being manipulated by Hollywood. Did I buy a ticket for Wicked? Yes. Might I buy multiple tickets for Wicked? Yes. Will I buy tickets for Wicked Part 2? Yes. But I do so in protest of the machine.
Well, you would agree that The Lord of the Rings, the book, needs more than a 2 or 3 hour movie to get through the whole Lord of the Rings.
Correction. I believe that the 3 books that made 3 movies was deserved. I do not think The Hobbit needed to be 3 movies. That was purely a profits play, and it was stupid.
That's not a hot take. That's most people's feeling on it. Although it could, The Hobbit being split into at least 2 things. Like when Guillermo del Toro was working on it, he was planning to split it into 2 at least. And don't you feel at least, and this is, books have more content than fits into a movie.
Absolutely. And as it should be, because they're different mediums of art. And I think that there is something interesting in the exploration of miniseries in particular in novel adaptation, because like that's a form that fits the longer narrative arc. But actually, okay, so what to me, what is happening today with films is shrinkflation.
Shrinkflation.
Less story, same size box.
Less chips in the bag.
Yep.
More air.
Yep.
Well, did you feel there was air in this movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
In what way? How would you describe the air?
So, okay.
Without spoiling.
There's one of the things would have to be a spoiler, but in this first film, the air was well used. It was beautiful in how they did it, but they spent a lot of time doing world building, and that brought a magical experience. I have a prediction that I will be much less thrilled with the second film.
Why?
Because it will be the same length without the world building, because they've already done it.
We already know it. You're already sitting down at the table. They don't have to get you to sit down at the table again.
Right, but then it's not the same experience.
You don't need to explain who Frodo is in Two Towers the same way you do in The Fellowship of the Ring.
Correct, but again, 2 different books.
It was originally written as one full 3-book one thing. Lord of the Rings. It was called Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
It was later. It's kind of like Star Wars was originally planned as a multiple event saga, you know.
Sure. Exactly.
I would argue they didn't plan it.
I would never argue that Harry Potter should have been 1 movie when it's 7 books. I would argue that Harry Potter, the last one, should not be 2 movies.
My wife would argue that the first 6 movies are the same movie, and they do the same thing over. And to be honest, when I was watching this one, I was like, man, this is kind of like a Harry Potter movie, except it's better. And then it was like, wait a minute, no, it's not. They're not in danger of dying. They don't have any fears yet. The only reason I know that is because I know the story and what's going to happen. I've seen the Broadway play on Broadway. You saw it in London, didn't you?
No, I didn't see it in London.
Where did you see it?
Just here.
Oh, you saw it in Minneapolis. You saw it in the Twin Cities. You saw the touring production, and you've seen it as well.
Yeah, I saw it in Chicago.
We've all seen it in 3 different cities: New York, Minneapolis, and Chicago. Kirk?
I like the play a lot. Well, maybe it's not fair because this is half a movie, but I like the play a lot better than what I saw of Wicked. I still like the movie because I feel like they did more with less. But there's a lot of stuff in Wicked that I think they could cut out, like the whole book reading library part. I don't think they should have put a song there. That
song's in the. I was going to argue for that song being one of the best in the movie, even though I know a lot of people think that song goes on too long. I've heard
it does go on too long.
But the spinning wheels and how they
it's
did that.
beautiful, and they clearly put a lot of effort and energy into the musical numbers, and I think that they are some of the most successful parts of the film. But I think the beauty of the film form is the constriction and the boundaries of. You have a couple of hours and you have to make decisions about what you're going to include. And when you remove that boundary and make it 2 films, it's like, well, let's do whatever, sure.
So we'd have to cut out half of this movie, essentially, to get to the same point you reach at the end with, defying gravity without giving away anything. Obviously, defying gravity's in the movie. And then go into the second part that you would then do in an hour and 20 minutes. Because like what I know is coming, because I've seen the play, and I've read synopsises of the books and the books that come after, and because I was on my spectrum and going into like the old books written in the early 1900s and all of what happened there, because I was a big Return to Oz fan when I was a young child.
Oh, what is wrong with you, Kyle? That movie gave me nightmares.
That one. When did you see it? What age were you?
Like 6 or 7.
I showed it to the 4-year-old in the past 2 days.
No,
and
Kyle.
she was really into it.
Nope.
Mrs. Farx thought it was odd.
Is it even canon? It doesn't follow a singular
None of this
time,
stuff is
right?
canon.
Timeline? Yeah.
I used to have nightmares all the time about a witch coming and stealing my head.
Yeah, right? That's so cool.
No.
You thought that was cool?
It was terrible.
Yeah, because seeing all the disembodied heads as a young child was very revelatory for me. Spoilers for, not really a spoiler for
Return to Oz specifically.
Yeah, you should go watch 1985's Return to Oz, which is based on the second and third book of the early 1900s Oz series. I don't like the idea of taking things out when the book is, I think, 400 pages or something like that. I don't know offhand. Someone's yelling at their headphones like, no, it's exactly. So the idea that I'm going to get 5 hours to get this story is interesting to me, and I'm just happy for that. And I'm not mad about, like, I feel like, would you argue against there being an arc for Elphaba in this movie?
No, of course not.
There's a full arc that is told in this movie.
Oh, you mean, do I agree that occurred in this movie?
Mm-hmm. Unto itself, without you being aware of her full arc from the play.
No, but one of my biggest complaints is the handling of Elphaba as the main character.
How
we can
so?
get into that more.
That's more spoiler?
Yeah.
Could you give any non-spoiler pieces?
Non-spoiler pieces. I mean, I don't think it's spoiling it to say that Elphaba is written largely as a passive character through the majority of the movie.
This movie,
Yes.
Wicked part, which is Act 1 of the musical.
Yeah, very few of the things that she does are because she made a choice to do them. So could you have had a full arc for Elphaba? Possibly. Did they? No.
Do you think they did in this movie? 'Cause I don't think they did.
I would argue she does have a full arc because she starts in a, like, without spoiling things, you see, I didn't like the framing device at the beginning. How did you feel about the framing device of
It's like Bible,
Glinda?
in the words of Ariana Grande,
That's exactly how it is in the
play.
Oh, that's Glinda. Okay, I couldn't remember that, but I don't like it in the movie because they don't end with the framing device they use at the beginning, which is not a spoiler.
Because they split it into 2 movies, Kyle.
I'm aware, but
They will. It will be framed by Glinda.
we got the prologue, right? Like there's a prologue in Fellowship of the Ring.
Yep.
That sets up the world. So we got the prologue, which framed how I felt about Elphaba, and the popular song is the middle of her arc, where it's I'm choosing to have a relationship with this person. She does make choices.
You're stretching.
She chose to help Ariana Grande, Galinda,
No.
and because she chose to help Galinda, it's because it's a story about 2 women becoming friends in unlikely circumstances. They become friends by the middle of the movie, and then that is changed by the end of the movie. So that's how I would argue.
I would
I
argue
feel
that
that was
that's
rushed a little
not also not an accurate statement of their relationship at the end of the movie.
They're more friends or less friends at the end of the movie. And
Then at the beginning, they're more friends.
they're more friends. I think after Popular, they're more friends.
Arguably, but I would say that the one point that I thought Elphaba's character was very well handled, like beautifully written, was the hat incident, we'll say.
Okay. What's your relationship to Cynthia Erivo?
I did not know
As a
who she
performer.
was prior to this
Yeah.
film.
What? Have you guys not seen Bad Times? Have you not seen Bad Times at the El Royale?
No.
Widows.
Oh, I've seen Widows, yeah.
Okay. It's a movie about some women stealing, doing a heist in Chicago. It came out in 2017.
No, I haven't seen. I should also specify that my complaint is with the writing of Elphaba, not the performance of Elphaba.
I didn't
Cynthia
assume-
Erivo
yeah.
did a fabulous job.
It's clear from the criticism, I would believe, but thank you for the clarification. I've had I was going to say hard-on for Cynthia Erivo, and I'd say that in front of my wife, Mrs. Farx, because of her singing soul music in Bad Times at the El Royale. Strongly would recommend the movie Bad Times at the El Royale. Because
we're getting over a cold, sorry.
In part 1, which is actually part 3 from the audience's point of view. So I had a very strong relationship. She also played Harriet Tubman in the Tubbs movie.
Okay, I haven't seen that either.
She gets R-worded in that movie, which is not necessarily historically based, so...
Oh, okay. Then why put that in the movie?
I am not here. The director was recently in town.
I mean, I would probably guess that, well, it might not be historically based for Harriet Tubman. It was a very common occurrence historically for black women in that era.
Yeah, well, yes, 100%. I bought that movie as part of a 10-pack when I was trying to get Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
What were the other movies?
The On the Basis of Sex movie about the notorious RBG. And what
I
else?
have actually seen that one.
Pride and Prejudice, the movie, not the miniseries.
What collection is this? There's so many...
It's the Focus Features 10 movie collection because I wanted to get Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And it gave me I wouldn't have otherwise seen Cynthia Erivo in Harriet.
I would argue that Ariana Grande, she makes a choice to be friends with Alphaba. Not Alphaba makes the choice to be friends with her.
And we'll save this for the spoiler section, but Alphaba makes a decision to help Galinda, and Galinda then makes the choice to try and be helpful towards Alphaba.
There are small steps of belonging cues, yes, but the first one actually came from Galinda, although it was misunderstood. So the first one was the giving of the hat.
Yeah, but that was not done. Well, we'll save the hat, I guess.
I mean, this is like, if you know anything about the movie.
Because it's a high school movie. Like, this one's a high school movie, and the next one's like a superhero war movie.
Yeah, but...
And that's cool.
So, the first belonging cue came from Glinda, even though it was actually her bullying Alphaba.
Yes.
Alphaba responds with a belonging cue.
Yes.
And then meets rejection, and then to Kirk's point, Galinda at that point, is the one who makes the choice to overcome her bias and have an actual character development moment.
Belonging cue is a phrase I'm going to use.
Great, I did not come up with it. Oh my gosh, what's his name? It's actually in a book that I'm reading right now. Go ahead and you can grab it, Matt.
Matt Efteland is running to the library that is in the house of The Culture Code. Daniel Coyle. The Secrets of Highly Successful Groups. The Secrets of Highly Successful... Are you reading it for church?
No, for work.
For work, yes, that's better. Sorry, church. How do we feel about Ariana Grande doinking the guy from the SpongeBob musical and breaking up his marriage while he has a child, while she was also married but has filed for divorce as of March for irreconcilable differences? Are neither of you aware of this?
I feel like I just had an aneurysm. Nothing you said makes sense.
So the dude that's the Munchkin, so not Prince Charming, but the Munchkin, Ariana Grande threw her marriage away for the Munchkin.
Oh, for Bach?
Bach, thank you. Yes, she throws...
That's ironic.
I agree.
That's so ironic.
I am aware that's spoilerifically ironic. Ariana Grande, Sunrise, threw away her marriage.
Aside from the fact that it's amusing that she chose Bach just because of the story, I have no opinions on this.
Neither do I.
Are you guys musical fans in general, since I couldn't get you on hot celebrity goss?
I mean, yes, generally.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Well, I don't go out my way, but I'll watch it.
Yeah.
What's the last musical you saw in a theater, brother?
Wicked.
No, but before that, I meant, obviously.
I don't know. I don't think I could name it at the top of my head.
What's a musical you like?
That I saw as a play?
Have you guys seen, I know Alyssa's seen Les Mis. Have you seen Les Mis?
I saw that one, yeah.
Okay, that's 2012. That's 12 years ago. I'm going to jump back to your multi-part argument. Did you see Dune?
I did, yeah. That one is hard for me to have an opinion on because prior to seeing Dune Part 1, I had no
Dune knowledge.
Dune knowledge whatsoever. So I sat through Dune Part 1 being like, what the hell is going on? Basically from minute 1 until the credits.
Wait, you didn't sit through Part 2 saying that too?
No, because then I read Dune and Dune Messiah. And
you read the books?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
fuck yeah.
So by the time I got to Part 2, I was like, yes, I know what's going on. So it was much more enjoyable. But I would say I have had interest in going back and rewatching Dune Part 1. I have watched that film multiple times. It has never crossed my mind to be interested in going back and watching Dune Part 2 again.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Because I think Dune Part 2 is the more exciting one, and Wicked 2025 will be more exciting than, Wicked 2024. But you don't get to Dune Part 2 without Dune Part 1. And breaking that book apart as, something that was intentionally made as being unfilmable. It's kind of like, why was Wicked made as a musical instead of a movie to begin with? Because they could write these great songs, and maybe the narratives of what is evil fits better on Broadway than in popular culture in the 2000s.
Also, having not read the book, I don't know this for certain, but knowing other people who have read the book Wicked, the musical is much more palatable, is what I've been told, than the book. Like, the book delves into darker and weirder things. It doesn't appeal to... So if somebody... I would hazard a guess that if somebody read Wicked the book and Wicked the musical did not exist, and they were like, I want to make this into a movie, that would be one weird,
Tim
dark,
Burton, something.
And it would not have broad appeal.
Okay, do you feel Step Up 2's Step Up 3D's director did himself... Crazy Rich Asians director, John M. Chu. That's the director of this Wicked.
Yeah, of Wicked, yes.
Yes, he directed Step Up 2.
I did not know that. I did know that he directed Crazy Rich Asians, and overall I like that film quite a bit.
What do you mean overall?
It has some story structure issues, but...
How so?
Oh boy, this is not the film that we are here to talk
I know,
about. You can invite me back to talk about...
Crazy Rich Asians, yeah.
And we'll have to have a Crazy Rich, because they were supposed to make there's another book in that series they should make, from what I understand. I haven't read the books.
Me either.
I do own the Crazy Rich Asians on 4K just because it's beautiful. And I'll buy the 4K of Wicked, probably, because my kids will watch it.
And it's a beautiful film. Yeah. It is visually stunning, and I do hope that it sweeps the Academy in all of the visually stunning categories.
Okay, who's getting nominated from this? This is a non-spoiler thing we like to do in the non-spoiler section.
I would assume that...
Ariana gets supporting.
Yeah, I would assume Ariana and Cynthia are at least in consideration.
I don't think Cynthia gets nominated, even though she should.
You really don't think so?
No, I think that because of all the things Alissa said earlier about her arc, that the subtleties of its arciness are such that...
It's hard because she delivered just like a massively beautiful performance, but it doesn't stick with you as strongly if they don't nail the character development.
From my point of view, I liked her outsider, ticky behavior throughout the first, it's kind of like Harry Potter and Harry Potter 5 when he's on the outskirts. I know I'm supposed to call it the Order of the Phoenix.
No, I'm laughing because you just referenced the least popular Harry Potter movie.
It is one of the less popular Harry Potter movies, I agree.
Which one's the fifth one?
Order of the Phoenix, when Gary Oldman's character dies because he falls back.
Spoiler, jeez.
No one gives a... If you haven't seen fucking Harry Potter...
I would have said Harry Potter 5, where Harry Potter becomes a moody teenager, and also weirdly Voldemort disappears even though he just came back and was taking over the world.
Yes, and everyone's like, you're lying, Harry, we don't like you, you're the bad guy. That's basically what they do to Elphaba. And that's my favorite Harry Potter book. So seeing that...
I'm learning so many things about you and your taste.
What do you mean?
It's not my favorite book.
It's not?
No.
What's your favorite Harry Potter book?
My favorite is actually the 7th.
What's your second favorite?
That's
my second favorite,
Not
probably.
the fifth one? Yeah.
Second favorite, probably the 3rd, Prisoner of Azkaban.
Okay. That's obviously the
Silent
best
Descent
movie.
is being given from Couch Husband.
Mr. Efteland is agreeing with Mrs. Efteland uproariously. Do you agree that Harry Potter is an outcast in Harry Potter 5?
I mean, the premise of Harry Potter is that Harry Potter is weirdly both an outcast and the most popular boy in school in every single book.
He's the chosen one and an outcast. but he is like people are mad at him in Goblet of Fire because it's like
He's a straight up popular jock. Everybody loves Harry
That's
Potter.
true. Yeah, she's got a point.
It's all a narrative. It's the woe is me. I lived in a cupboard. My life is so hard.
I lived.
And
No,
I say
hard.
this as a Harry Potter fan. So
I'm excited for the TV show that's gonna come out. Apparently, it's funny because Wicked is stealing Harry Potter's glory right now.
I don't think it is.
Oh,
what do you
only
mean stealing?
temporarily.
Yeah, what do you mean stealing?
When's the last time a Harry Potter thing mattered? Because the Newt Scamander
Unfortunately,
books.
I think
And the
it was
movies are still
negative,
pretty
but-
popular. Yeah. People are still talking about the movies and the books.
It's
People
like,
are
J.K.
enraged.
Rowling makes me angry,
Yeah.
and Newt Scamander's movies didn't do well because they had a horse pick who the president was going to be in the third one. I read the book. It's fantastic beats. Anyway, I don't care about ruining it. Both of you, when did you first see the 1939 Wizard of Oz movie? We'll end on the
I
non-spoiler
have
section on that.
absolutely no idea.
Did you see it as a
Yeah.
child?
Yes, many times.
Saw as a kid. I don't know if I seen it as an adult.
You haven't watched it as an
No, not
okay.
recently. No.
But you both saw it as children.
Yes, repeatedly.
So,
And I
repeatedly.
hated
Tell me
it.
about that.
Oh, it's just like I grew up in a rural household that didn't have TV, so we had VHSs, and I watched them over and over and over and over again.
And you didn't have cable?
No.
Not even in the winter? That's what my family did sometimes.
They had cable in the winter.
Sometimes we'd get cable in the winter at my
Oh,
adopted
right.
family away from
We had one of those little antenna things
Yeah.
that if you put tinfoil on top of the ears and like held it in the right position, you could get potentially Bonanza reruns.
Bonanza.
Ugh. And you have no relationship to the original books, I'm assuming?
Read half of the first one when I was a kid.
Wait, the 1900 book?
Yeah. And then was like, why? This is weird. And didn't finish it.
You went to the library, got it, and it's because you liked.
It's because I was an incredibly pretentious child who was obsessed with reading and specifically obsessed with reading classic. And it was on a list of classics that I had.
In the non-spoiler section, CGI. I thought it was bad at points in this movie. I liked the goat, didn't like when the book was animated.
I mean, it wasn't that bad. I think. I mean,
That's
I
not a
didn't-
good counter
Yeah,
argument.
but it's not like it took away from the movie, though.
So
Same.
I really liked the goat. Really liked the goat. Did not, because obviously that goat is CGI. But I just when the
Wait,
Oh,
what?
is he?
that's not a real goat.
God, yeah.
That was
my
actually
God.
Tyrion Lannister from Game of Thrones doing that. Any other thoughts in the non-spoiler? So you've not read the books, either of you, right?
No.
Here's my comparison to Twilight. There are
Wow, I had to leave. Yeah, all right.
well, there's like the ooh, does she like him or does he like her or does he like her? That's totally
I think that, but
Twilight-ness.
yeah, that wasn't the whole movie though. That was like
There was a good part of the movie that I did not enjoy.
Yeah, but I also felt like it wasn't enough of the movie either to even that felt rushed. Even
The romance?
yeah, the romance.
To bring it back to my favorite hot take that
Thank you.
it should be one movie or it should be a mini series. I think where it felt off for me is like if you're gonna explore that, you need to actually explore it. And it felt like a little bit of exploration, but not enough to actually warrant.
There were times in the movie, I feel like related to scenes like that, where I could feel my mind drifting. And like in Twilight, the funniest joke to make in Twilight is while they're like furtively staring at each other to go, wine, wine. And I felt there was some like,
The issue here is that in Twilight, the first movie, you only get Edward. Jacob doesn't show up until movie 2, right?
no, Jacob's
So-
in the first one. He's just
Oh,
the
he's
neighbor.
there? Oh.
Yeah, how do you guys not know this?
I've
I
never
don't
seen
watch
the
Twilight,
Twilight
yeah.
movies.
To be pure like you, Alissa. To be
Never
pure.
read the books either.
Okay, neither of you have seen Tin Man, the sci-fi series?
Nope.
It
And
has nothing to do with this. Does it have anything to do with Wicked or the
Tin
Wizard of Oz?
Man canonically takes place much later on in the Oz series, much later than Dorothy Gale. The part we'll end on is: have either of you seen Oz the Great and Powerful?
No.
It's a Sam Raimi movie, the guy who directed the
Oh, wow. Huh.
the three Spider-Mans and Evil Dead with the Deadites. So we'll end on me telling you what I showed my 4-year-old to get her ready for Wicked. I showed her Oz the Great and Powerful. And then we went and saw Wicked.
Wow,
And
alright.
Kyle, you could have just played the soundtrack for her, like
Yeah,
the
that would've been
original
fine.
Broadway soundtrack?
We've been doing that too.
Okay.
I showed her Oz the Great and Powerful, which has a lot of weird CGI and came out in 2013.
But his complaint is the book and Wicked.
Yeah,
I have a complaint against the book.
No, you missed my point, Kyle.
I'm sorry.
My point was you showed your 4-year-old this movie with really bad CGI,
Oh, yes,
but you
yes.
complain
Oh,
about
yeah,
the
with the
book
CGI.
CGI in Wicked
You are correct.
2024.
That is correct. I would argue
Double
against
standard.
a lot of the filmmaking things that were done in 2013 that, do they stand out today? Of course, but it was a funny way to like engage my 3 and 4-year-old with the Oz universe. And then the 4-year-old sat for 2 hours and 40 minutes without a bathroom break, which shocked me.
Wow.
Yeah, watching Wicked. And was into it and could like talk about it afterwards in a coherent way. And then that evening while we were decorating the tree, even though it's pre-Thanksgiving, they watched
early.
Wizard of Oz. My wife decides these things.
Oh,
And then subsequent to watching Wizard of Oz, she watched Return to Oz.
Okay.
My favorite joke for when I posted on Twin Cities Geeks, here's the order in which to watch these movies, was someone saying, yeah, Rashomon, your Oz experience.
who?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you guys don't know what Rashomon is?
No.
It's a Japanese movie where multiple
Okay.
people talk about. It's in the popular culture. I believe it came out in the 50s.
Oh.
And Rashomon is something that's influenced other movies where you see the same story from different people's points of view, so you get different versions of the same story.
Right.
But because you're linearly seeing the story progresses, but you're realizing, wait a second, that person's not, it's not congruent with itself. There are incongruities between what people are saying. Like the movie Hero with Jet Li. Okay.
That
thank
one
you.
I'm familiar with.
Boom
Beautiful.
shakalaka. You saw that one?
Yeah, I saw that one too.
So
yeah.
we're ending on Hero before we go to spoiler.
Well, I think this is
Give me-
not
you give it-
particularly related to what you just said, other than that you're listing adjacent Wizard of Oz films.
Yeah, please.
But I think the biggest gap in my Wizard of Oz education that I intend to fix soon is I've never seen The Wiz,
Oh, yes, Sidney Lumet.
which is a very important cultural icon that I would like to take part in.
I made the joke. You watch, wait for it, Oz the Great and Powerful, Wicked, Part 1 as we now know it as, The Wizard of Oz, Return to Oz, and then you watch The Wiz twice. That's the correct order in which to watch the Oz universe. And someone says, you watched The Wiz 3 times.
You heard it here first, folks.